Welcome to Being Extraordinary with Akasha Awaken. Here we awaken the Akash to the non-physical reality that stores ancient wisdom and magic for us all. This podcast is dedicated to the stories, the knowledge, and the people who have found a way to tap into this knowledge and bring it into our physical reality, fully allowing themselves to embrace our true and extraordinary nature, and hopefully inspiring you to do the same. All right, hello and welcome back. Today I have a great friend on with me, Angelle, who's also an Akashic record reader. I met her through exchanging sessions, and you are all kinds of talented. So Angelle you're so passionate, first of all. So welcome, Angelle.
Thank you.
You're so passionate and always filled with so much like goodness and positivity. And you had talked about the synchronicities and how you started paying attention to get your kind of career off the ground, and how it sounds like it also motivates you to keep moving when things get tough. So I'm so excited for you to shed some light on this, because it's so crucial that we do pay attention to what's going on around us. So why don't you tell us a little bit about your story and how your business got blooming and synchronicities played an amazing role in that.
Okay, well, thank you for having me. I'm very excited. It's the first time I've been on a podcast.
Really?
So I'm very
Oh my
excited.
God, yay.
My first one. And I plan on starting my own. Just haven't got there yet. You know, I work a bunch of jobs and I have kids, and everything for me tends to be really slow. At least 2022 showed me that. So I go through these little pockets where things all of a sudden really pick up and then they really slow down. So what I recognized along my journey was that if I just held my vision, it would happen. And I started seeing things come together, and I was like, whoa, it's really happening. Because before that, before I started really awakening and believing in the magic of the universe and believing in myself, I would just give up. I would, there'd be a story, well, you don't have the money for this, or you don't have the time for this, or no one's going to support you, or whatever it was. Always some kind of excuse, AKA story. And so I started realizing that working through the Akashic records, I could let go of these stories, that they were like patterns and blocks and things that were holding me back. So then I would start seeing all these random synchronicities. And it's weird because my partner, we've been together over 11 years, and he never he's very black and white, and I'm black, white, gray, and everything in between. So, and I really like going down the rabbit hole, and I really like believing in or at least learning about all the things. And so these synchronicities would start happening to him and I could see like even the belief spark in him that was just too much to call a coincidence. And so I started looking back over the years and realizing that as synchronicities happened in my life, that was something that really like propelled me forward. And that was things that made me feel like, okay, right place, right time, on the path type of thing. And then, my stories would stop me, and I'd go back into that human side of total bullshit. I can't because this and I can't because that. And I look back at myself and I'm like, my God, am I a frustrating person? Like my friends must have been like, okay, like let it go. But I look back and I'm just like, okay, well, that's what we're here to do. We're here to learn, we're here to let it go, we're here to move forward. So as I started really working through the synchronicities, I was like, okay, like I need to keep pursuing this. So all of a sudden, I was getting my records read, and then all of a sudden, she was like, "Oh, I'm teaching a course," and I was like, "I can do this?" And she was like, "Of course you can. Like, what my mentor told me was that if you're really into all these things, like maybe card pulls, readings, intuitive, whatever, basically any of it." She's like, if you like it, you can do it. Like you're attuned to it, you have the interest, whatever. So I was like, oh wow, okay. So I took level one just thinking like, well, I have no idea what I'm gonna get out of this, but I just knew that I had to. And just again, the way it popped up right at that time, and she put up the price, and like at that point, I remember I had a good paycheck that month, and I was just like, okay, like just really all worked out. And then from there, just like unfolded. It was just all of a sudden it was one foot in front of the other, and then I sometimes pick up speed and be actually like running towards my goals, and then of course things would pop up and make me second guess everything, and then I would have to like go back to like my snail's pace, and then be like there'd be another synchronicity, something big would pop up, and I'd be like, okay, Angelle, keep going, keep going, keep going. And as I started doing that, and then bringing along my own friends, my own clients, my own people, and seeing them really bloom into who they are now, I was just like, yes, I have to keep going. So basically, I mean, really, my sister was the first one to really like introduce me to a lot of it. She tuned me to Reiki. That was a big opening piece for me for sure. And she was just like, you just got to do this. And I remember I didn't really know what it meant or what it was going to do for me. And I had no idea how much it was going to open me up to like really my intuition and like lighting up my chakras and really starting to again get into those Akashic records, let go of those blocks, those patterns, all the shit that wasn't serving me. And one day, my favorite synchronicity story, I think, well, one
Yeah,
of
I was
them.
gonna ask you, what's your best synchronicity story?
Yeah. Okay. So me and my partner were driving to the movie theater, and like again, he's not really a big believer, but he was talking about something and he's kind of complaining. And I think I just wanted to like kind of watch the conversation because I didn't want to get him down the road of like negativity. So I was just like, well, whatever, that's life. You're not gonna like everyone or everything they do, whatever, it's life. And like the saying that's life was never something I'd really said before. I like that specific in that way, the way I said it, that those two words together, like that's life, I had never said. And I kind of even thought to myself, that's weird I said that, but whatever. The conversation ended and we just kept driving to the movie theater and that was that. So we were going to see the movie The Joker movie with Joaquin Phoenix.
Mhm.
And so we're sitting in there and got our popcorn, drink, sit down, whatever, just enjoying the movie. It is actually a very good movie. And all of a sudden, Frank Sinatra's "That's Life" starts playing, and it's like a massive song in that movie. And we were just like, like, and even his mind was blown, like blown. And at that point, I was really in the middle of like my healing journey, like opening up, really starting to like put myself out there to clients, whatever. And I just remember sitting there in that movie, and I think I missed about a half an hour of it. I was just getting download after download after download of like information and ideas and programs. And like, I just started seeing the big picture, and I was just like, oh my God. And then the message was, it's not that's life, it's this is your life. And I was just like, whoa. And I kept that part to myself for a long time. But like, oh, and as we were driving, he decided because he's the music guy, he's always playing music. And so he put on That's Life by Frank Sinatra. And I was just like, and that's never a song he's played for us. Like his iPod has like 13,000 songs or whatever. And that one he actually had to like search for. And so we listened to it and we get the theater and it just keeps playing, like it plays multiple times in the movies. And then that download came in and I remember being like, I'm gonna have to rewatch this movie. I just missed like a huge chunk of it. But I remember both of us, like our minds were just blown and I had that full body like goosebump feeling. And it can sound so simple to some people, but it's just when you recognize those synchronicities and when you start feeling into them and you let your body and your mind really like hear and feel the messages that are coming through, like I can guarantee you there is so much info there for you if you just stop and listen. And that was just, I don't know what it was, but it was just a really big moment. And it's like one of those things that somebody could kibosh so easily, but I'm like, no, you can't. Like this was, yeah, it just really opened my mind and my eyes.
Ah, that is so cool. So what was I going to ask you about that? So with the song and the download, so what do you think synchronicities mean? So if someone out there is kind of like, well, what does that mean? How do I look for them? How do I know? So first of all, you said slow down and like pay attention. But what do you think that synchronicities like represent spiritually or in life? Kind of like a confirmation or pay attention or both?
Yeah, definitely both. I think for me, I think everybody's different, and that's why you really need to tune in and just stop and listen. And the thing I would get in my own head about it not being right or whatever was because I would just think like I would go back to oh, it's just a coincidence, like and you kind of rub it off. But I remember like when I recognized that feeling watching that movie, and I felt that like full body goosebumps, and I just felt like words and ideas and thoughts popping into my head. I had never really realized that those were awarenesses and that those were messages. So what I recommend for people is just stop and listen. It's going to be different for everybody. So if maybe you're just like, okay, I keep seeing 222 everywhere I go, it's 222. Look up the meaning of 222 or stop every time you see it and just think, is there a message here? And like, you'll be shocked at what pops into your brain.
Mm-hmm.
And you'll just be like, oh, yeah, well, that's I was totally just thinking about that yesterday, or that's what I've been avoiding for the last 6 months, or whatever. You'll just notice. And a word, a color, a theme, anything, everything that pops up, if you are really unsure and you're really fresh to it, keep a journal of it, keep a note in your phone. Just, okay, this happened, this happened, this happened, and start watching it and listen, because you might notice, okay, this happens every time I want to start doing this. And every time I say, no, I can't, maybe the synchronicities are showing up to say, yes, you can, stop doing that, or vice versa. You're choosing things that you don't want to choose. They're not creating greater in your life, but yet you just keep doing it because it's what you know, and you just roll with it. And then these synchronicities and these stories and everything's popping up to be like, stop it. Like, you have potential here. You're just as sacred and magical as everybody else. So I really grew up thinking that that was just normal, and yes, coincidences. The adults just like always chuck it to coincidences, and nobody was there to ever tell me like, oh, you're actually really powerful. Oh, you're really intuitive. Like even even telling myself I'm powerful. It took me years to accept that word, years. And all of a sudden, I look back and I'm just like, my God, if I could have just accepted it from the get go. But
Honestly,
that's part of my lesson.
right. And I love when you said this is your life. And I also love that you said like synchronicities will be different for everyone because this is your life. And only you and your soul and your team of guides know where you need to be going. So it's your responsibility to pay attention or take the time to listen. And
Yes.
something funny about synchronicities you reminded me of is like before I really like woke up. So first of all, I was a conspiracy theorist and I thought something was up with the world for my entire life. I was like, none of this makes sense. So I was very curious, but I did not really believe in spiritual stuff. And I remember like some of my more intuitive friends would be like, oh, I see repeating numbers everywhere. And oh, I got this cool thing. And they would talk about synchronicities. And I was way off path, first of all, in my life, doing everything wrong. But it was part of my lesson. So I'm taking it. But I never seen anything like that. Nothing magical ever happened at that chunk of my life. As a child, it did. And I was like, man, people are crazy. This isn't real. But then when I stopped acting like I knew everything and that I was on this right track. And I started just asking the simple question to myself, being like, what else is there for me? Because I'm not happy. So like first step for me was admitting that I wasn't the guru of my life, that things weren't going how I thought they would go. So I said, what else is out there for me? Because this is a dead end. And then as soon as you ask the question, it was just like, boom, you needed to ask that. Here's a synchronicity. And then you're like, okay. And you kind of followed it. And then once I just changed what I was focusing on, they were everywhere.
Okay, you just said it. As soon as you change that focus, it all starts unraveling. So when you take that step to like admit that you're seeing the synchronicity, or that something, like even Akashic records, those words just keep popping up. They just keep popping up. They just keep popping up. And you just get that charge every time. Like I know as soon as I heard the word Akashic, anything,
Right?
I was just like, oh, I was like, I don't know what that is. I just knew energetically I didn't even need someone to like speak those words to me. I was just really excited about whatever it was, and I just knew I needed it. And it was like I found this piece of me that obviously I'd been carrying for lifetimes and just had forgotten, or it was just my time to remember. So the whole thing about what you just said is what you focus on, you create. So when you start noticing the synchronicities, they're going to start popping up all over the place because you're creating that. So it's like as soon as you start thinking about all the things you desire and that you hope for, things will just come into play and they'll pop up and you'll be like, holy shit, an opportunity. I was just thinking about that.
Yeah.
And then if you're not healed at all, or you're just like I was for years, and you're so stuck in your stories, well, I can't do that because I don't have the money. I'm not intuitive enough. I'm not smart enough. That's not my
And I
path.
hear a
I'm
lot of people
egoistic.
say, well, I have a family, I have kids, I have a husband, I have these responsibilities. And did you have children already when you started like paying attention?
Yes.
Okay, I love that because I don't have children. So I was like, well, it's easy for you because you don't have kids. And I like love that you're like, no, like we can do it at any time. Your soul's always trying to whisper to you. And if there's a will, there's a way.
Yes. And so I had my son when I was 30. He was my first. And he's 9 now, almost 10. And I felt like it was the birth process and the mother in me that was a huge part of my awakening. And so, and I've seen people who started their journey pre-children and either chose to have kids or not have kids, and how their journey just unfolds how it's supposed to. None of that matters. That's just another story that people tell themselves so they can stop themselves. That's all it is. So if you're out there and you have 100 kids and you don't know how you're going to do it, just do it. Start listening to podcasts, start reading books, start playing with some oracle cards, go into a metaphysical shop and start like looking at decks and just go by your goosebumps, your truth bumps. Like you'll just feel pulled to something and just start believing in that. Like I think a big thing that everybody should know is about their light and heavy. So if you ask yourself a question right now, you say, truth body, do you like water? You're going to get a light, expansive feeling because your body likes water. Even if you don't really like the taste of it or whatever, our bodies love water. We are water. Like we need water, that hydration. It's cleansing. It's wonderful. But your body will give you that nice light feeling. Say, truth body, do you want to drink paint thinner? And your body's gonna be like, oh, you know, you're just gonna feel like, well, that's a no, because no, your body doesn't want to drink paint thinner. So, and I got that analogy I got from Glenyce Hughes, who's big into access consciousness, and she has a podcast of her own. She's wonderful. Highly, highly, highly recommend. She's been a big part of my journey. But yeah, learn your light and heavy. Start asking yourself those questions like, truth, would I like to make $1,000 this month? Well, heck yeah. Truth, would I like to make $10,000 a month? Hell yeah. Like, you know, you'll just feel the degrees of lightness or heaviness as you ask yourself. Start using that in your everyday life. Everything you choose, just truth, should I choose this? Truth, will this create the future I desire? And just go with that, because asking yourself that, you're going to open up so much, and then you're going to start following that, and you're already living intuitively. Whether you have 10 kids or no kids or whatever, that's just one small step towards it. So it's like, just stop telling yourself why you can't and start trying. That's really like all that matters. And like, if I get out of my stories and I can start trying and I can get to where I've gone, I promise you, everybody should be able to. Even if you look at my astrology chart, the resistance is insane. Like I have so much resistance in my chart. And when I don't want to do something, I just don't do it. And I had to start working through that. Well, why aren't you choosing that when I knew deep down I wanted it?
Yes. Okay. That's amazing because you've accomplished so much. Like, first of all, you have an intuitive practice and you have so many tools under your belt for the intuitive world. You also work in like physical beauty and you have your own studio and you manage being a parent. Like you have done so many things and you still have like the best spirit about all of it. Pardon?
I also still transport foster kids, which is insane.
Okay. Yeah. How do you do this?
I don't know. I have no idea. But it's because also, this is what I need to say, time is an illusion. Like, yes, I'm very busy and it's insane and people don't understand. And I'm sure there's people out there that think, well, how can she be a good mother? How can she be this? I don't care if you want to think that, go ahead. I know I'm, you know, I'm really good at most things in my life. My full-time job, I will admit, has definitely become less of a priority. And I'm sure they're starting to get annoyed with that and notice it. But it's the means to an ends right now. It is what it is. And like, I've been doing it 14 years. I'm just not passionate about it anymore. I still love, you know, I love the relationships created and all that kind of thing. I just know I'm on my way out, but it served its purpose and whatever. And that is what it is. But time is an illusion. So I know I still get my kids to the majority of all their dance and hockey and whatever else they're doing. We still have lots of family fun nights. Like, you just schedule yourself. And honestly, I know I'm the type of person, if I have too much downtime, that's where my anxiety starts to kick in. That's where I have too much time on my hands to think about all the things that, you know, scare me or anything else. So there's just so much there. You just have to be like, okay, I desire this right now. I need this. And you got to make a plan and stick to it. So I have my plan that I do plan on quitting my job, and I will. It doesn't feel light to do it right now, but in 10 seconds it might. So I'm just rolling punches. And that's just it. Like, if I can do it and I can feel like motivated and excited and whatever, then most people should be able to too. And of course, everyone's story is different. I'm not trying to downplay anybody's shit. Like, there's a lot going on, especially if you're somebody who lives with chronic pain or really heavy depression or whatever. But using these tools and going through this awakening experience can help you through those things. You don't have to stay in that spot, you know? And whatever your life is meant to have for you, whatever your path is supposed to unfold, it will. And it is what it is. But there's definitely ways to go through it all with more ease and to choose differently.
Yes. And like, you know, you say Well, first of all, you're very powerful. So you can see that power like oozing through you by all the things you can even accomplish. And I feel like it's because you cultivated your power and you said, hey, I can do this. And then you're, I see this all the time. People, like you said, your path is being, you came here to do something. This is your life. And there is goals and objectives that you wanted to hit. And like we do get stuck in our stories and get derailed down these things. And then synchronicities and these weird moments are just trying to grab your attention. But we do live in a world, and again, people do have tough stories. I'm not downplaying it, but we do live in a world that actually does cultivate and suggest that we should blame everybody else for our problems. You know,
Victim personality, victim
yeah,
stance.
that and it's fed to us. I don't think it's actually natural for human beings to go there. I think we know our power and we're fed that victim standpoint. And then it feels like we're wrong or weird when we start to pursue a path that is empowered or is built on intuition. And regardless if you're spiritual or not, you know, our bodies are intuitive. Like Angelle says, all you're doing is listening to this organic mechanism that keeps you alive subconsciously. You don't think about breathing. You don't think about beating your own heart. There's a lot of intuitive things happening in the body. And if you're going to tune into something, it might as well be the body because it's going to tell you the most truth about who you are. And it's just like, it's just cultivating that space to listen to that and cultivating power. And like, when you start choosing the things that actually light you up, like the Akashic records or, you know, a dream job or a dream shot, like you get so powered by it that it
Yes.
fuels the momentum forward, right?
Yes. And when you start thinking about the reasons why you don't open up that shop you want to open, why you don't go back to university at whatever age, any age, why you don't, when you start thinking about that, most of the time you're going to find that it's because you don't want your family or your friends to judge you. It's not a societal norm. I'll say that in quotes because what the F is a societal norm? Anyways,
Exactly.
and the whole point is that we're here to shake that up. We're not just living in a world anymore that you got to do A, B, C, D. Like I want to do Q, R, Y, A.
Yes.
Like I got to do that because that's what I need. That's what I desire. That's what makes me better. That's what makes me more passionate. That's what gets my gifts and my purpose and my passion out into the world so I can help others. And that's really all I give a shit about. It has nothing to do with my, well, I'm sure there's some of it that has to do with my ego. That's part of growth and whatever. But I mean, I'm trying my very hardest to make sure it's not about ego and self-serving stuff, unless it's something that really is for my growth and healing. Then yeah, bring it. So if everybody just is to stop and say like, holy fuck, like, why am I doing what my grandma or my uncle or my brother thinks I should do? Like,
Yes.
why? Why are you doing that? You know? And
Yes.
then people are like, oh shit, right. Yeah. Like, honestly, anybody who loves and accepts you is gonna stick around. They're gonna cheer for you. And if they can't, they can't. And maybe you need to let them go for a day, a month, a year while you do what you need to do. And if they're meant to come back, they'll come back. And there's people you're going to find in your life that maybe aren't your physical family here, but they're going to become like family to you.
Yes.
And there's people that, you know, maybe you had a very turbulent relationship with your mom until you were 25, and all of a sudden now you guys have healed and you're best friends. Like, I could go on and on and on with examples, but the whole point is you have to do what's right for you. And so when I was 15, I believe, I was babysitting for a family, and I loved that family, but I really wanted this job at the mall. And I remember telling my parents and just crying, like, what's this mom gonna do without me? Because she didn't pay me very much. She lived around the corner from us, so I'd walk there at 5 o'clock, and I would walk home at 1:30 or 2 in the morning when she got off work. I'd get her kids to bed, do all that, tidy up, and then I would run home because literally they were just around the corner. And I remember just being like, you know, who's she gonna find? Like just feeling like sick about it because I was just so worried about them, not about what I wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
And so my dad was just like, he was, I think he was just like, we were in the kitchen, he was beside me, and he was just like, well, you know, like, there's gonna come a time where you just have to do what you need to do, and like, that's okay. And as soon as he said it, I was just like, oh, that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
And then you kind of have to laugh at that because you're like, how simple is that? But yet I was so deep in my people pleasing I
Yeah.
was so deep in showing up for everybody else rather than myself that I was literally basing my decisions on what other people wanted or needed from me instead of myself. And that was that first conversation. I was probably 15. And I mean, that has, I still have to fight through that mentality today at age 40 in order to choose what I need. So you can imagine what the last like 7-ish years have been like fighting through that. So that's why I say if I can, anybody can. And it doesn't make you unkind, it doesn't make you a bad friend or daughter or anything else. Like it doesn't make you any of those things. And if somebody's there to tell you that it does, then they need to work on their healing and their story. And you need to work on yours.
Yes. Oh my God. Amen to that. And when you said that, it made me think like of, what you said, we create our reality. So it's like everything you choose gets like amplified. So you start choosing yourself. You start choosing what you desire. You start choosing what lights you up, and you create more light. You create more desire. You create more passion. And like, breaking away from people pleasing is something I struggle with too. But like when I did it, because I treated myself badly, I would feel awful. I'd be frustrated. I'd be like, angry, tired. And then I just kept creating that cycle of being angry and tired and frustrated. And I was basically saying to the universe, hey, I don't really matter. What I want doesn't matter. So then guess what? It was everywhere. Nobody listened to me. Nobody thought what I wanted matters because I started that. So when we start choosing something differently, we grow our self-love, we grow our power, and it's literally matched by the universe. It comes back to us also in our family, our friends, our relationships, and it's like, oh, it's crazy. And then have
It
you
is.
had any, oh sorry, do you want to
No,
go?
good.
Do you have any crazy stories about just like weird things that shouldn't have worked out but did? Like a few times in my life, I was like, I don't know how the money's going to work out by choosing this. And then all of a sudden, like something crazy happens to encourage you to keep going. Maybe not money, it could be an opportunity or support, but that weird thing that just keeps you going that makes no logical sense.
Yes, that was my life this year. The
Really?
fact that I have Studio Bloom in my business and my family finally, after all these years, bought ourselves a new home.
Yeah.
I don't know how the money came into the existence. I mean, I can tell you physically how it got paid for and whatever, but how it showed up, like, I mean, that's a whole topic for another day, honestly. Like, but here I am, and it's
Yep.
real, and it's mine. Like,
Yep.
it's
And when it's
just
your
I know the
soul's
vision.
Exactly. When it's your vision, when it lights you up, when it's your soul's purpose. And it doesn't have to be opening a business. Like Angelle said, it could be going back to university. It could be just healing your body. It could be going on that trip that you've dreamed of your whole life. Like you decide it's your life. It's you decide what
Yes.
that thing is. But when it's meant for you and it gives you those full body truth tingles, trust me, the logic of the plan doesn't always work out. Like, of course, it's good to have a plan, but you almost can't be attached and control how it comes in because half the things that have happened to me make no sense. And I want to
Totally.
scream that to people, like, don't wait for the logic because it's not there. It's crazy.
Well, even having my son, so like I got married when I was 22 and I left when I was 25. And we were together for 7 years and I never had kids with him, even though I wasn't on birth control for a long time. I look back and I'm like, thank you, universe. Thank you. But I also at that time I was like, I didn't want kids. I was in my late 20s, but I was at that stage in my life where I just planned everything. And I just thought I had my whole life worked out. It was just going to be, perfect and wonderful and blah, blah, blah. So my dad died when I was 20 and it was very shocking and very sudden. So that really meant that really pushed me into, being taken off my path, my perfect little path plan.
Mm-hmm.
And then so actually getting engaged and married actually brought me a lot of happiness at that point in my life because nothing was very happy. The grief was all consuming. So that was a good thing. And then when I did leave the marriage, I mean it had gotten very unhealthy in the last year and a half, especially. And it was really pivotal in my life because I chose me. That was the first time like I really, really, really sat down and chose me. So as I did that and I started to show the universe, hey, guess what? I'm looking out for myself, not everybody else. I'm not just staying with him because he doesn't want me to leave. Like I knew I had to go and I went. It wasn't easy by any means, but I did it. And it ended very messy, very, very messy. And then so then it was kind of like, okay, if people would be like, oh, like, are you worried about like getting married again? Would you ever get married again? I was like, yeah, I honestly had no fears around like finding somebody else or anything like that because I was so detached from that. I didn't care about that. I knew I just needed to heal and get on with my life. So then I meet Brett in well, I met him in February. We started dating in October, and I got pregnant the following June. And it was very shocking. Like I was on the pill. Like it was very,
Whoa.
very, very shocking. I reacted like a 16-year-old would. Very dramatic. And all of a sudden, but like literally, I didn't plan any of that. I just rolled with the punches. I went with the gut feeling. As soon as I was pregnant with him, like I knew like this is my baby. This is like, yeah, nothing is stopping me, whether Brett and I are okay or not. And then Brett and I just continued to choose each other, and we still do. And it's manifested into a beautiful relationship, 2 kids, like a really wonderful, solid thing. But I'm also not attached to it being like that tomorrow. I'm like, well, if we can't make it work, we just won't. So, being gifted my son, Joaquin, made me choose that, but it also made me realize I don't have to choose anything. I just have to do what makes me feel good in the moment. And that's how you
Mm-hmm.
manifest. You worry about how you feel right now in the moment. If you're constantly looking for tomorrow, or you're looking, okay, you're somehow validating that maybe your relationship is better because you're going to be together forever. Like, no. Why would anybody even actually desire that? Why wouldn't you want to gift yourself the idea to change and flow and like let go of each other if you have to? Like maybe in 5 years, Brett and I will decide we just don't love each other anymore. I don't
Mm-hmm.
know. I mean, I'd love to say I can't imagine that, but what if we do? And what if that's okay?
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah,
I
I
just
love
want to
that.
get out of that constant planning and that constant like control. And I just started being like, I'm happy right now. That's good. I'm happy right now. That's good. And now I have my kids and my family and everything that I once had planned out. And now
Mm,
it's just here, and it's much healthier, and it's with much more ease, and it feels so much more aligned. And like
yeah.
that was the lesson I needed in that marriage. If we decide to get married, we will. If we don't, we don't, whatever. But when you let go of that control, you start looking at those synchronicities, you start listening to the messages, you start trying to feel good in the present moment, it will unfold for you, and it will get more and more magical every single day. It just will.
Ah, I love that. And like something that I'm seeing in like the way that you operate is that you're asking yourself, does this feel good? And when people create plans, when people plan for the future, really all we're planning for is what we think we're going to enjoy, because of why? Is it
Yeah,
because the status quo, again, the social norm, whatever the hell that is that you're married by X time and you've seen this many countries and you have this much money? Like, I think trying to fit into some sort of box feels really limiting, and you're never enough if you're conforming to status quo. So like,
totally.
how do you deflect? Like, is it just a practice that you've honed, or how do you tune out what even just social media is saying that you need to be successful? You need this many followers, you have to have a travel blog, you have to be married and have this quaint house. Like, how do you just tune it out?
Um, I just have to laugh because I'm like, fuck all that. I'm like,
Exactly. Fuck all
no,
that.
I just start saying it. I'm like contracting. I'm like, ugh, it feels so
Yeah.
bad.
But I
But
think
I
so
mean,
many people are trapped in it.
yes. So what I say is, again, feel into what gives you those goosebumps. What feels good when you think about, marrying somebody or planning a trip or whatever. Does it feel really light and expansive and wonderful? Then yes, plan it, go for it, like achieve it. Yes. If you're planning things and you're just doing it because that's the plan, and it honestly does feel contracted and maybe even like somehow like detached from you, then it's not for you. Like chase the things that light you up, that give you those bumps, that make you feel light and expansive. That's where it is. So for me, if I'm in the middle of scrolling social media and I'm seeing a bunch of shit I don't want to, I just keep scrolling, or I just get off, or I just go listen to a podcast I know is going to lift me up. I go read a book. I just go do something else. I just refuse to buy into any of it anymore. It's not worth my energy. And as soon as I start reading something and feeling gross, then it goes. And the thing is most of the time you are just intuitively tapping into everybody else's fears and junk. And
Mm-hmm.
that's not going to create more for you. So again, go where it's light and where it's expansive. And if you follow that lightness and that expansiveness, everything just rolls into place. The other thing is, again, access consciousness is amazing for helping you retrain your brain and your thought process. So like some of the founders are Gary Douglas and Dane here, and there's podcasts and books and a website, whatever, just have phrases like what else is possible. So when I start, like if I start worrying, like, okay, my power bill was $400 this month and I only budgeted $250, and I start going into the worry and the control and the plan, I just stop doing that. I'm like, what else is possible? What else is possible is coming up with this $400 with total ease, and I drop it and I move on to the next thing. Now, that has taken me years to be able to actually do, but I do it really fast now. And it's amazing how quickly you'll shift things. And if you don't come up with the money, like really, are they going to put you in jail because you don't have your power bill paid? Like, no, you'll figure it out. You'll get crafty and
So
you'll
true.
figure it out. And you just keep saying what else is possible, and something will show up. Universe will show you that something else is possible. And it'll, like, I'm sure people listening are like, oh yeah, that one time I needed this, and then all of a sudden some random GST check showed up that I never thought I'd have, or like on and on and on. The list goes on and on. And I'm sure people can just tap into that right now and be like, oh yeah, that time where I wanted to go to school and there was no spots left, and then all of a sudden somebody dropped out and I got that spot. Like, honestly, you can
Yes.
probably think of so many things in your life where that's happened. So you just go with it, and you just be like, yeah, fuck yeah, this is magic. Let's keep going. And again, follow the lightness, follow the expansiveness, keep going.
And then when you follow the lightness, follow the expansiveness, you create more expansion, more light, more expansion, more light. And like,
Yeah.
again, just don't attach to the how. Like I'm like a recovering control freak as well. And it's like, you just can't plan for the how for things. And, there's even like he's a comedian, but and so you never expect him to say it, but he's like, I hate dream crushers that say, how are you going to do that? That's not likely. And he's like, as long as you hang on to your dream because you love it for you and you detach from how it's going to show up, you'll get there. He's like a very famous comedian, very rich. And he's like, if I can do it, you can do it, but you have to let go of the how, because there's weird opportunities. There's weird
Yes.
collaborations. Maybe it's
Yes.
slower, more
Yes.
resistance, like you said. And it's like, you don't know how it's meant to be. And I have to, like, that's a mantra I say all the time. I'm like, I don't know how it's meant to be. I don't know what's supposed to be. So
Yeah.
let's go. And
And you can
after,
go back to access consciousness and just be like, universe, show me. And then just kind of like close your eyes and run. Like, just show me. And let your light, your being, your soul, the universe, whatever, guide you. It really does just happen.
yeah,
And I know there's people that are listening like, but how? But how? Like, just please, please, please just be like, okay, I don't know how, but I'm gonna try. That's all you gotta
yeah,
do. Leap of faith, and it is so worth it. Like, oh my gosh, when I think of, like, there's still like hard things come up in life, like people are, unfortunately people are gonna die. Like, you're gonna maybe get slapped with a massive tax bill like I did this last year. Like, things are gonna happen that don't feel great, that aren't exciting and whatever. But the more you let go of those stories and that control, the more ease you move through with things. So I think too, like, I'm very fortunate I had a pretty nice childhood overall. And so when my dad died, I realized, like, holy shit, like life just happens. Like, and like I had to start asking myself every day, like, are you just gonna lay in bed and be sad all day? Like, or are you going to go choose something else? Or are you gonna even say, okay, for 5 minutes today, I'm gonna go do this? Like, you have to start somewhere,
yeah,
because if you let life control you and your situations control you, it's just highly, highly unlikely you're ever gonna find happiness.
exactly. Exactly. And, like, it sounds to me, I don't know if you'd say this about yourself, but I feel like that you're worth it deep down, that that you're something divine and you came into this life, and that like, no matter how you spin it, no matter how you determine why we're on this planet, it's nothing short of a miracle. Like, if you believe it spiritually, if you believe we just evolved from algae, either way, on a spinning rock in nothingness, and we have the consciousness and the ability to do what we do, it's a fucking miracle. And like, I promise you, that miracle did not happen for you to give it all away to worry, or to how, or to, just like you said, like letting that life control you and that grief succumb to you. And it's like once you remember that light within or that miracle within, like just choosing it is huge.
Mhm. And like that's what I've spent my entire 30s doing. Just being like, this can't just be everything. I can't just be somebody's mom. I can't just be somebody's girlfriend. I can't just be their daughter. Like, I have to be me. I have to live every day. I don't want to live sad or angry or whatever. I realize that that's part of life and I'm okay with that. But that's not how I want to feel regularly. So I choose differently. And by choosing differently, it was learning to outgrow my stories. Hey, if somebody else can be a billionaire, why can't I? Like maybe I'm not a billionaire today, but maybe I will be tomorrow. None of that actually matters because again, you're just playing into but how? It doesn't matter. If you follow what lights you up and you follow that expansiveness, shit just happens.
Yeah. And I'm like you, like I would I always ask myself, like when I started, I was like, okay, you have a choice here. You can continue to walk this path that seems like it doesn't go anywhere, it doesn't light you up, but it's least predictable, or you can try something different. And then I was kind of like, well, on my deathbed, I just don't, I want to say at least I tried. Maybe I tried and failed. Maybe it was a really long, fucked up road, but I'll be way more happy knowing I gave myself the chance than just, yeah, allowing myself to fall into something that I know was never going to make me feel like myself.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And like, do you really want to be on your deathbed and be like, oh yeah, I always wanted to be a lawyer. I always wanted to be able to read tarot cards. I always wanted to anything. And then just be like, but I didn't because why? Like you
Yeah.
actually don't have any reason. Like you might feel like money or your family or whatever isn't, but there's stories every day of hope and possibility and people who have picked themselves up from fuck all and became
Exactly.
massively. And there's other people that have just picked themselves enough to just live a nice, happy day-to-day life where they don't need anymore because it just feels good the way it is. All of it's okay. If it's for you and that's what feels good, roll with it. Keep going. You never know what doors are going to open. You just never know. And if you stop wondering, then yeah, good luck finding the doors to open.
Exactly. Oh, that's
Yeah.
so good. I feel like I'm getting so much out of this because I can sometimes like let my worries like really take over, and they're just kind of like funny worries, like they're not necessary, but like probably as when you're an entrepreneur or even as a parent or whatever, like every single day for all of us is filled with like, ooh, how am I going to deal with this, or what's the next thing, or how do I take mine, and it's just this always these questions, and when you meet something with resistance, it really like, yeah, you can't find the door out because you're not even looking for it. And it's like, oh, like just seeing, how like passionate or, excited you are and how you're just like, I've overcome a lot of things. And all I did was say, like, what else is possible? Or like, there has to be something more. Or I didn't come this far just to get this far, And it's
Yeah.
like, yeah, I'm definitely going to remember that moving forward so that I don't waste time just being frustrated, It's like I
Yeah.
know
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
going, but it could be a lot
Yeah.
more beautiful of a journey if I just shut up in there for a little bit.
Also to just grant yourself the space to feel your feelings. If you're having a day where you feel sad or anxious or angry or whatever it is, maybe you're grieving somebody or something. Maybe you're just wishing for something more. Maybe you just feel really stuck in whatever it is that's happening. It's okay to be where you need to be in that moment, to really feel things. You just can't stay there.
Yeah, that's really powerful too.
You just got to be like, okay, like what next? So maybe you need to, okay, you know what, this Akashic record thing sounds cool, I'm just gonna get one. I'm just gonna get a reading, and then like, oh wow, and like you learn about yourself, or this person will pick up on things where you're like, what, how do they know that? It's like we just tap into your energy. We just feel like, what do you need to hear right now? What do you need right now? And that's
Yeah.
really all that matters. And that's why I also started, I got my certification in hypnotherapy, because I thought if I can get into the records and really start like removing these blocks and these patterns and these things that are like holding people back and stopping them from feeling, that wellness, whatever that means to then we can move into the hypnotherapy, and we can start putting these new suggestions into that subconscious mind while you're in that hypnotic state. People will go into hypnotic state throughout the day, all day. Do you ever start driving or doing the dishes and all of a sudden you're like, whoa, like what just happened in the last 5 minutes? Or
Yes.
you're on the highway and then you're like, I'm in Melford already? Like, did I go through Kinnison?
Yes.
Like, because I drive for work, driving kids, and I'll just be like, whoa, because I went into like that hypnotic state. And so that's normal. Like, it's people think like, oh my God, they're going to hypnotize me. I don't have control. I don't this, that. That's not what it is. It's just we're able to get these suggestions into that subconscious mind. So it's taking it a whole nother level, layer deeper. And like, there's just so much like power in that. So you can't go wrong with at least trying something. That's,
Exactly.
and if it's not for you, okay, well, I tried. And again, you lay on your deathbed and you don't lay there thinking, I should have got that reading that one time or
Yeah.
whatever.
Because
It's
on
never
your
too
death, yeah, exactly.
until
On your
your deathbed.
deathbed, yeah, on your deathbed, all those stories don't matter. Like, I just know
No.
that's how it's gonna feel. Like, the money
Yeah.
doesn't matter on your deathbed. The time that you don't have or you think you don't have doesn't matter on your deathbed. Like, and that's such a motivator to me. It's not always everyone's motivator, but it's my motivator. And like, it is your responsibility as like a conscious, divine, sovereign person to like problem solve,
Yeah.
and so just try the reading, try the hypnotherapy, call the university, look at what flights cost to see Italy. Like, you have to just try, and I just find so
One
many
foot in front of the
people,
other.
yeah, one foot in front of the other. And so many people do give into their stories. And I mean, we're all guilty of it from time to time, right? It's not about perfection. It's just about the progress, right? Like you said, one foot in front of the other.
Yeah.
Very cool. Did you have anything else that you wanted to share with the people?
Well, I think just leaving it at this, I always think to myself, like, if I can say to myself today, if I die tomorrow, I'd be happy. So I think that every day I just think like, if I die tomorrow, am I happy? Like, yeah, I have goals. I want to see the world, but that's not my priority right now. Like, if I die tomorrow and I never see Italy or Switzerland or Bora Bora or the places on my bucket list, I'm okay with that. So it's obviously just not my priority right now. If you're like, no, I have to go there, then go.
Yeah.
So start thinking that to yourself. Like, just get real with yourself. Stop lying to yourself. Stop doubting yourself. Stop and just be like, okay, well, what else is possible? Okay, I looked into a plate. Okay, well, I'm gonna just try. I'm just gonna try. I'm just gonna try. And again, just one foot in front of the other, and it just comes together. And if you can have even 1 ounce of faith, you can dig out 1% of you to find that faith and take one step. You're just gonna all of a sudden you're gonna catch yourself running, and then yes, you might go back to snail pace for a little bit, but take the lessons, take the growth, see why feel into why am I slowing down right now? Why is this so slow? Why is this so slow? See the lesson you need to learn. Maybe there's something you need to grieve, like that you're leaving to move into your next stage. Like, there's been pieces of me that I literally had to grieve. Like, there's been friendships I've had to grieve because as I grow and move forward and become, I'll say in quotes, weird. Some people don't want that, and that's okay. And you know what? Maybe in 10 years they'll be weird with me too, and then it'll be all fine again.
Yes, exactly.
So it's just like, stop letting go of what everybody else is doing and think about what you truly, truly, truly desire.
Okay, I love that. Well, thank you so much. And if people want to see more about what you have to offer, how can they find you? I'll make sure to put all your stuff in the notes, but what's the best way?
Well, I don't have my website yet. It's a work in progress, but we have studiobloomsk.com, and you can click on each of us and you can kind of see. Mine just takes you to the Facebook pages right now. But honestly, if you get to one of my Facebook pages and you can just inbox me,
Sweet.
then we can talk. Yeah, we can talk. You can ask questions. You can say, hey, what do you have? I'm interested in this, whatever. And we can have a discussion and see if you're fit for a session, a program, anything else. I have some really cool stuff that's going to come out for the new year that I'm really excited about. And yeah, it's going to be really motivating and really beautiful and exciting. And it's just time to do it.
Yes, I agree. And it's very powerful. Everything you do is always so powerful. So I encourage people to check it out. All right. Well, thank you so much, everyone. And thank you, Angelle. This was great. And we'll see you next time.
Thank you. Yes.